So for your calculations, you have the mass of your crucible with the lid, and the piece of magnesium. So to find the mass of the magnesium, you have to subtract the number that you have in number 2 minus what you have in number 1. So that's the mass of your crucible with the lid and the magnesium minus the mass of the crucible with the lid. And that will give you how much magnesium you're using. Number 4 and number 5, it's experimental data. So you're heating up your crucible with the magnesium, the first, the second, so you have your numbers, and those numbers you need to complete the calculations. So for number 6, to get number 6, you're doing the mass of the crucible with the lid and your product, because this is after your reaction has been completed, minus the mass of the crucible and the lid. So that will give you the mass of your product. Whatever number you have as the mass of your product right there needs to be higher than the mass of the magnesium by itself. In your product, you have magnesium and oxygen, so you have those two different elements. You're starting your reaction with only magnesium, so as oxygen is being added to your compound, right? You're going from your element magnesium to a compound containing magnesium and oxygen. So as oxygen is being added to the magnesium, that mass should be increasing. So for number 7, to determine how much oxygen you have now in your product, you have the mass of your product, which is the magnesium and the oxygen together in your compound, minus the mass of the magnesium by itself. So the difference between those two masses is going to give you the mass of the oxygen. To get the percentage of magnesium, it will be the mass of the magnesium divided by the mass of your product times 100. And then to get the percentage for oxygen, you're doing the mass of the oxygen divided by the mass of the product times 100. Now, down here, as part of the calculations, I wrote what do you have to do to get the moles? The moles of the magnesium, which is number 10, and the moles of the oxygen, which is number 11. So for number 10, you have the mass of magnesium. And if you want to convert mass to moles, you have to use the molar mass. So you have the mass of magnesium, and then the number that I have here is the molar mass for magnesium. So you should check your number in the periodic table. So I'm writing down the molar mass of magnesium as 1 over 24.31 grams because you're trying to get moles. So if you want moles, you need moles on the top part of your conversion factor. So when you do the amount of magnesium, which is what you have in number 3, times 1 mole divided by 24.31 grams, the unit grams is canceling out because that number 3 is the grams of magnesium. So you're getting here a number that is in moles. And that will be the moles of magnesium. So for number 11, you're doing something similar. You have number 7, which is the mass of oxygen, and that mass is in grams. So you have grams of oxygen times 1 mole over 16 grams, and that right there is the molar mass for oxygen. 1 mole over 16 grams because you're trying to get moles. Number 7, that amount it's in grams, so your unit grams is canceling out from your 7, which is grams of oxygen, with the molar mass here, 16 grams. So the number that you're getting here will be the moles of oxygen. So to find the empirical formula, you have the moles Mg first, because the metal always goes first in your formula. and then your oxygen. The number that you're calculating in number 10, which is moles, you're going to write down here. The number that you're calculating in number 11, you're writing down that one right there. So you have magnesium, moles of magnesium, oxygen, moles of oxygen. Now you're going to divide both numbers of moles, both of them, by the smallest amount. So let's say that this is 0.1 for magnesium, 0.2 for oxygen. So you have to divide both of them by 0.1, which is the smallest out of the two. That should give you a number that it's close to a whole number, or close enough that you can round. So that's what you have to do to get your empirical formula. Get the number of moles for magnesium, for oxygen, and then divide those two number of moles by the smallest. Both of them by the smallest number of moles out of the two. And whatever number you're getting, you should round to a whole number, and that will give you the empirical formula.